I thought you were gonna ask from the front or from the back.
That too. They
Yeah.
talk
Okay.
about that too. Like honestly, I think it's a
Hmm.
no-brainer. Like if you go back to front, why? And just who hurt you that you're okay doing that. But let's talk about like
Yeah.
sitting down or standing
Hmm.
up
Hmm.
because I want to know the
Hmm.
mechanics of that.
I'm just gonna make noises. This might be weird. Ah! Hello. Hello, hello, and welcome to Film Fika, the podcast where we get our caffeine fix and stay hydrated. If you're Mao this week, yes, son, I called you out on your water drinking. What's with
Yeah,
this? You're making me drink alone,
bitch.
huh?
Um, it's just I am currently in the middle of moving, so everything is in boxes. Everything is in boxes. Um, you currently, if you're on the YouTube version, you're currently standing on boxes, which is dangerous because boxes aren't necessarily the sturdiest of things. But I'm hoping that because they're plastic boxes, it won't be too
Hey,
bad.
man.
That's also why, like, I hope the audio is not complete shit. It sounds good in my microphone monitoring thingy. So here's hoping. It's just like I don't have where to put my microphone right now. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to
Hey, man.
we're figuring it out. But you're also not where you usually are.
Ditto. I myself am home at my parents and couldn't get my normal microphone to work, so this is not the best audio quality from either one of us. Apologies, I guess, but it'll be a good episode because naturally this is the podcast where we talk about movies and have a cup of coffee. It's been a while since I said that one, actually. Ooh. Today,
I think it's like at this point most people know
I
what
guess you're
we're
right. I
here
take it
for.
all back. We're
Yeah.
watching Joe Penna's newest video, or movie rather, Stowaway. It's on Netflix and newly released. We actually got a new release for once here in COVID times and exciting stuff.
And on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um,
The Oscars happened yesterday. Uh, I have beef. I have beef.
I haven't
Not gonna
even
lie.
followed because as I mentioned real quickly, I'm at home. I see it as a little bit of a vacation escape, if you want to call
Yeah,
it that.
for
So
sure.
I haven't been bothered like at all.
I think you did the right thing. So here's the thing about the Oscars. Alga doesn't care about them. I care about them in the sense of like I'm interested in the movies that get nominated because most of the time I like knowing. I just like being in the know. I'm not gonna lie to
Hmm.
you. Um, and cinemas reopened here and they showed all the Oscar movies before the Oscars happened, which is insane. That usually doesn't happen. The only reason why that happened, to be completely honest, I think it's because um, it's April,
Yeah.
right? So usually the Oscars are in February. So if they had kept like their original date, I wouldn't have been able to see most of them in the big screen. But I was very fortunate to. And so I took my brother to watch these movies with me because I'm not going alone. Are you insane? Um, and he was like, dude, every time I walk into a movie theater with you, it's like I don't know what to expect. Right? Because I take him to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like um right before one of them we saw the Mortal Kombat movie. You know, because
That looks
I can
dope.
dig that too,
That
man.
looks dope.
I can dig that too, exactly. And so yeah, I feel movies. I don't understand why people gatekeep movies. I will say there's definitely bad taste in movies, but even then, if that makes you happy, fuck everyone else. You know?
Hmm.
Um, in terms of the Oscars, though, I'm happy about a couple of things. I think, I was very surprised that Anthony Hopkins won lead actor over Chadwick
Oh
Boseman.
yeah.
Rest in peace. I thought Chadwick was like a shoe-in, and I think it'll start an interesting dialogue that
Interesting.
he didn't win. I hope it starts an interesting dialogue and not just like, oh, it's a racist thing.
Yeah.
Because I truly 100% believe, after seeing all of the movies, Anthony Hopkins deserved the win.
Exactly.
I
And it's
wouldn't have
like,
been mad.
because we discussed it the last episode where Chadwick would be the obvious choice because of the
Yeah.
tragedy that is, but Anthony deserves an Oscar for all that's worth. But that is unsuspected, yes.
It is. Honestly, I was really, really surprised. I wouldn't have been mad if Chadwick
Mm-hmm.
won, because he did give an amazing performance. But Anthony's was just better,
Oh
man.
yeah, okay.
Like, it was insane, the amount of subtlety and honesty that came through. I thought it was great. Chloe Zhao won Best Directing, second female
Awesome.
in winning.
Awesome.
It's awesome, but it's also kind of like, really, just 2 women have won Best Directing in
Yeah.
4 years. That is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. Yeah, honestly, I have beef with 2 categories. The first one, Best Lead Actress. Frances McDormand is a great actress, and I love her work. However, I thought Vanessa Kirby should have won. Vanessa Kirby was amazing in Pieces of a Woman. If they were not going to give it to her, they should have given it to Viola Davis, because she was amazing in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And I understand why Frances McDormand won. It's not that she wasn't good. I just think the other performances were better to me. So that's my first beef. Second beef, because of COVID and because of all this crap, the Academy hired Steven Soderbergh, who's a pretty established director. You know, he did Ocean's 13, he did Sex Lives Videotape, he's done a bunch of stuff, to like produce the event. And they interviewed him, and I read the interview with him, and he talked about how it's going to be really cinematic, and how him and his team were working so that the award show wasn't just like an award show, and that it was all this other stuff. Newsflash, spoiler alert, it wasn't. It was honestly, it was so boring sometimes. Like, so boring. So, like, it, oh, I'm
'Cause,
sorry. I don't know.
Because normally the Oscars are one of the better produced live TV shows out there. They got the musical numbers, and they got the stand-up comedians that have their little bits and shoots at everything. So yeah, I have no clue what you're talking about that, but it sounds accurate knowing Soderbergh.
Yeah. I was pissed. I'm not gonna
yeah?
lie. I was pissed because I was invested in it, right? I thought, all right, like, let's see something new. Let's see something fresh. No. Just presenters presenting the awards. And I wouldn't have an issue with it if there hadn't been a promise that it would be something different.
You know who's been doing these live events really nice? Apple.
Yeah, man.
Those
Holy
are
shit.
well produced.
And like, that's what I thought this was going to be, right? I thought it was going to be something like that. Because, I mean, it just makes sense, right? Like, you're talking about Hollywood. Yep. Why wouldn't they make it something like that? And, you know, we can talk about the Apple products and the fact that the new Macs look like ass. They look like ass. I'm sorry.
But they do have SD card slots, though.
Dude, and like, I understand why, like, the point of them, and they look really nicely thin and shit, but like, honestly, I would prefer a thicker computer, or like a thicker footprint, if it meant getting rid of that horrible chin, because I thought the chin was already kind of like, okay, you know, it's 2021, we can move past it. But motherfucker, they made it bigger. And because it's not like curved edges anymore, it just stands out so much. And because it's white, it's like bright white against the
Wow,
it's just,
you're on
I'm sorry,
fire
they look like
today.
ass. It's just, man, like, what the fuck? I will put a picture up because I'm editing this episode and I'm pissed.
Do you have any more thoughts on the Oscars? That was a nice summary, or
I love that Mank didn't get a lot of awards, because I think it would have been a disservice for Fincher to get awarded on one of, I don't want to say it's a lesser movie. I loved Mank, but it did require a lot of context to fully enjoy it. I think in terms of cinematography, definitely not mad that it won cinematography. It's a beautiful black and white photography. It is very well made, and it just it helps a lot with the tone and the.
And as
journey.
I think we mentioned, that Fincher is a very visual storyteller, so it aids a lot.
Yeah, it's honest. It looked really good. I'm really happy that Promising Young Woman won original screenplay.
Interesting.
Mostly because I knew that if it was gonna win something, it had to be that. That was that was it. So I'm very happy for Emerald Fennell. I think she deserved an Oscar for that movie. I think that movie's trying to do so many things, so many good things, and Oh, and Daniel Kaluuya. Daniel Kaluuya for Best Supporting Actor. What the fuck? What the fuck? He was so good. He was so good in Judas and the Black Messiah. I was so excited. Anyways, so I was on TikTok the other day, and I will probably be able to find the link and post it down below to the original video. But my point is that it's these two girls, and they have a podcast, and they're talking about a lot of different stuff. But one of them turns to the other one, and she's like, "Okay, let's really quickly talk about wiping." And apparently, there's a group of people in this earth, and I'm wondering, oh God, I am wondering, because honestly, holy shit. There's people on this earth that wipe standing up.
I thought you were going to ask from the front or from the back.
That too. They talk about that too. Honestly, I think it's a no-brainer. Like, if you go back to front, why? And just who hurt you that you're okay doing that? But let's talk about sitting down or standing up, because I want to know the mechanics of that, right? Because in my head, standing up doesn't work. Like, how? I don't get it. And I was just wondering, what's your take on it? As someone who, because you and I have no issue talking about our poops, and our pooping habits, and everybody poops, and we should be okay with poops. That. And it's the type of activity that you can sit down and enjoy and be happy with. But why the fuck would anyone ever wipe standing up? That's
I
my
wish
question.
I could give you an expertise on the subject as being one to stand up, but I'm sorry to disappoint. I do sit down when I wipe. But I've heard of these crazy people who do stand up.
Monsters.
As you said, who hurt you? There is some traumatic experiences for sure that has triggered this behavior. It doesn't make sense, right? Because first of all, I like to sit down. Even if it's just going number one, I sit down because I can scroll on my phone. It's a little bit of me time. I can reflect on my day, my life, and everything. It's me time, definitely. So I usually sit down and take my time. So it defeats the entire purpose of relaxing and letting yourself go to actually then stand up and just I'm trying to how do you practically do it?
How do you? So I took it upon myself to find out if these ladies
Mm.
were actively, correct, or if they were just trolling. Because that's fine. I can get with a troll. I can get with like a funny bit about
Were,
people's like
were these
wiping
ladies
while
standing
standing
up?
up, but that's not actually a thing.
Oh no.
One of them did. However, she did not get into the mechanics of it, so I had to Google it. Right? I had to I took it upon myself to
Sick
Google
pervert.
it, and so I had to Google, standing up wiping, and of course, I
Mm-hmm.
ended up in Reddit
Yep.
because
Yep.
where else am I?
It's either
Where
that or
else am I gonna
4chan. Yeah.
get constant? Yeah, where am I gonna get my trusty answers? And so apparently there was a whole study that was made,
No.
or less like a
Okay.
survey. It's not a study; it's a survey. So they asked like about 1,000 people. Like 60% of them were men.
No
37%. 37% of the men wiped standing
Because that's
up.
what I gather, right? I'm surprised you said that woman standing up and wiping, because I've always only heard about men standing up. Oh no.
I've never heard of this. All right, this is because for me, like that's why I'm blown away. Because I had heard about front to back or back to front, which yikes. And I heard about toilet paper over or under. Those are the things that
Oh, yeah.
pertain.
I can add one on top of it. Do you, when you go to wipe, do you fold or do you scrunch?
Okay, why
It's
would
more
you
economic
scrunch?
to fold,
Right?
right? Yeah, I'm cheap.
Yeah, and it just makes more.
It makes more
just
sense.
makes
It's
more
smoother.
sense,
I
right?
guess you get
Like,
more surface area,
yeah.
possibly, if you really get up there when you scrunch it.
It for me it just feels like there's a bigger possibility of it getting everywhere if it's just
Yeah,
like
that you
scrunched up.
accidentally get it on yourself.
Like you just don't have a good
Yeah.
grip on it,
I'm glad that you're a folder, but go ahead.
And like, okay, so all of these men said that they stand up wiping, but then I started reading the comments because that's where the answers are, right? The numbers, I don't care about them because I don't care about how many people do it. I care about how it works, right? Most of them talked about how for them it's a standing up thing because they don't want their junk touching the bowl.
Okay,
right?
sure.
But for me, it's like, how far in front?
I mean, I
are
get it
you
because
sitting?
not every toilet is created equal. Not every man is created equal, so there is
Yes.
some leeway there, you know.
That too.
It,
But here's the thing, though, and this is like, I think this is why this type of conversation is always interesting to me. I don't poop everywhere, right? You know this about me. I can't actively sit down and take a shit anywhere. So that for me, it's a very there's very specific toilets that I take a shit on, and it's like, why would you subject yourself to going through this period of your life where it's like, I'm gonna stand up? Also, I read this comment by this one dude who was like, I'm not sure where I fall in this spectrum because the way I do it, my legs are straight, but my body's bent at 90 degrees. So
wait, is he sitting like a like?
So like, no, the other way around. So like his legs are straight, but then he's bent.
He's not even
over.
squat. How is he projectiling? That must be a troll.
No, just for the wiping. Just for this
He's
is
bending
just wiping.
over a 90-degree to wipe.
So yeah, so like he stands up from the toilet, straightens up his legs,
Man,
and then
this is interesting.
bends over, and then wipes. And for me, it's like, that doesn't sound so bad, except for so the reason why for me standing up sounds insane is because the moment that you stand up, you're mushing, right?
Absolutely,
like that just makes sense. The cheeks
spread,
right? I need to look more into this, but let us know down in the comments below if you're a stander or a sitter, and if you're a stander, please Explain
like
it
the
to me.
details. How do you go about it? What's your mentality like? You know.
Also, I want to talk to you, Algot, as a European about
Yeah.
bidets. Are you familiar with them? Do you like?
Uh-huh.
Have you used them? Do you want one in your house down the line? Is it
Is that
something like a goal? Is it like when I get a
I
house,
think
I will
I
get
think once
one?
you get older, you start to appreciate it way more. I have never used one actually. Is it
Yeah.
necessarily a European thing? I
Okay.
guess it's the name is from France, but
I've heard it's a European and also an
true,
Asian thing in
absolutely.
certain
Because
Asian cultures.
I feel
So
with the few like sources that I have that they're starting to gain popularity again. Modern Japanese most frequently
yes,
bidets that you can like hook up to a water
yes,
source and you have it in your house. People are loving it.
correct. Yes. Here's the thing, right? I feel like with Europeans specifically, because that's the experience that I can speak the most on. Um, y'all are technically, I would say technically more um, secure of your
Careless.
manhood, right? Like I feel like Europeans are a little bit more like, yeah, I'm a man, that's
Yeah.
it. That's how it rolls, right? But because sex is
Yeah.
not a taboo thing for you guys, the idea of having water
Yeah.
shoot up your butt,
Yeah, because
it
it's
doesn't
a
really
regular
faze you,
basis thing,
right?
even in the bedroom. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Just me then.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I think, wow. Thank you for sharing. But I feel like, Mexico being so close to the US and being the country that we are, bidets are so weird here, right? Like the idea for a dude to have water like just randomly like,
But it must be
hit you
efficient
down
though,
there
no?
is weird. That's where I was going with
Yeah.
this, right? It just makes
Yeah.
sense. To me it just makes sense. Like, especially because if you think about it, right? A lot of people are like, "Oh, like just wipe. Just wipe it." My sister's friend, she's from France. She has a
Mm-hmm.
really good analogy, right? If you're wiping down there and you get, you touch a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
the a little bit of
We've all
poo,
been there. It's fine. Yeah.
do you yeah, do you just grab a piece of toilet paper and wipe it off your finger and then go on with your life? I
Mm-hmm.
fucking doubt it. I fucking doubt it. I am sure that the moment that happens, first of all, you would freak the fuck out. You'd be like, "Oh my god." And then the moment that you can, you're going to wash the living crap out of your hand, right? So if you take the care to do that for your hands, why would you not do that for your ass? Okay? Like, I don't know. I think we should normalize taking care of
On
your
the subject
ass.
of bidets, I think the few times I've interacted with bidets, because I haven't been to Japan, that's mostly it, really. But in your grandparents' homes, they have a bidet there next to the toilet, and it doesn't really make sense to get up from the toilet and over to the bidet and then get your cleaning done on top of the bidet. That seems awkward and weird. With the modern technology, I mean, we live in the
Yeah.
future. Come on. Would you rather manually wipe and waste toilet paper that's expensive these days because of people hoarding it during COVID times? Or would you
Which is
rather
insane, by the way.
or would
Like,
you
how much
rather
do
have
you
an
shit?
automated system spray some hot water up your bum hole and have it cleaned perfectly?
Yeah. I think,
I'm
yeah. I thought it was
no,
hilarious.
I'm glad we had this conversation. I'm glad you shared with the class today. It's yeah.
I'm just on a roll here, man. I have like a lot of opinions, and you and I haven't
Yeah.
recorded in 3 weeks, so I haven't had an outlet.
I absolutely love it, and there is more poop talk to be talked about for sure. But I think it's time to go over to recommendations. Can I recommend another artist? I've been recommending so many artists. Let me do one quick artist and then a rec of a show. Okay? Oh no,
Oh, actually, I will say this because I think you will like this, or I don't even know if you care, but you talked about If Anything Happens, I Love You, which is an
Yes.
animated short that came out on Netflix. And that won
Beautiful.
Best Animated Short. And I thought it was deserving. I thought Burrow was gonna win just because it's Pixar. But I was so glad. I was so glad that If Anything Happens, I Love You won because it fucking destroyed me emotionally.
And
So yeah, just a little quickie.
it's interesting because of the stigmatization that is in the States that this short just tackles head on. So that's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I can recommend a show because I haven't done shit since, even though it's been like 3 weeks that we've been recording. I've been watching The Great British Bake Off. I've been watching How I Met Your Mother. I've been continuing that. There's some other shit that I've just been taking up, and I don't know. There's been a lot of podcasts and nonsensical. Nothing too special, but I have picked up Clone Wars. And hear me out here. My recommendation is Clone Wars.
Good man.
Because I had this conversation with a pal of mine not too long ago about Clone Wars coming off as a very childish show, because it is for children, right? It was on Disney Channel, and yes, it does have a few cringy-ish segments where, even though they're talking about politics and the ethics and everything, that is very heavy. The writing is not the best, and they don't swear. It's kind of weird, a military clone dude not using proper lingo, and they have to say blast him instead of like ceasefire and stuff.
Especially early on, especially the earlier seasons.
It gets 100%. Better. It gets better, and I would like to recommend the Clone Wars.
I think that's a great recommendation.
The reason I'm watching them naturally is in preparation for the Ahsoka show, as well as Mandalorian season 3 now. And if you'd like, there are definitely lists out there with only the key episodes, like so and so. And I'm only getting into the nitty and gritty. I just started season 5, and this is when we were getting the real stuff and the heavy. Yeah, you know, the Anakin storyline and how Ahsoka deals with that. So it's a cool show if you're able to, or willing to, rather overlook the childishness that unfortunately is. But it has some plot, though, for sure.
And I think there's some really dark moments too that are worth checking out. And for me, the love that I have for the prequels comes from obviously the nostalgia, like the hello, but also because of Clone Wars and the context that it gives to everything that happens in the prequels. And I think it's a great recommendation. But what about the artist, though? I'm interested.
Austin Weber, which is another quirky, awesome singer-songwriter, very indie-like. You might know him because he went viral for standing in a lake singing Mamma Mia on his trip to Japan. I think his girlfriend broke up with him. I heard of that, He had 2 tickets, so he went either way and just sang Mamma Mia in a cold-ass lake. He's a super cool dude. That cover is amazing, but he recently released a new album, and I love the dude. Very indie, very singer-songwriter-like, and his music videos, I think he has quite a few music videos out already. Very quirky, very awesome. Austin Weber and Clone Wars.
Good I love that. I think that's so cool. I want to take a moment and recognize the error in my ways. When we spoke about Avatar, The Last Airbender last time on the show, I talked about how I hadn't seen Korra. And I'd never continued on with Korra because I was like, I don't know, and I was thrown off by by many of the new things. I think I was just so attached to the original show. However, I took the time and I binged season 1 and I think it's fucking amazing. I think Korra does so many things, and maybe not all of them land as perfectly as The Last Airbender did, but I love when a show expands on lore. And I love, because I read somewhere that people were kind of upset that suddenly all of the firebenders can also bend lightning, when in the original show, bending lightning was supposed to be like a huge thing, a huge important thing. Here's the thing about that, and I feel like that's why the show is awesome. I feel they expand on the bending because it makes sense to expand on the bending, because there was a peace like period of time, and when that happens, all of the quote unquote secrets that countries have developed while in war get shared, right? And in the sense of bending specifically, it stopped being a military thing, right? It became accessible to everyone, and not, it wasn't thought of like, oh, I need this to fight someone. So it became a sport, and it became other stuff, and thus, it got developed. I'm so in love with it. I just got done with season 2, which delves into the spirit world. I think it was really interesting. I thought season 1 was really the better one, and I'm hoping, I've heard season 3 and 4 are better than season 2. So I would say my recommendation for the week is watch season 1 of The Legend of Korra, because I feel like it even works as a standalone one season.
Sure.
In case you don't want to see anything else, I think season 1 is definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, in the latter seasons they do, and I do appreciate that they do kind of the way they respect the previous characters and how they bring them in this new future that is. I really enjoy how they do that as this plot thickens more and more naturally. And especially once you'd finished season, I think there's only 3 seasons, right?
You might be
literally
right.
the last episode.
4,
Once you do finish it, let me know what you think about the let's call it plot twist, or rather character twist development thingy. Okay, cool.
Nope, there's 4 seasons.
There's a small
Definitely 4.
subtle change in the character there that I find lovely. Let me know what you think about it once you get there. But it's a good rec. Good rec.
I will do. Yeah, I thought it was amazing.
Have won you over, if that's even fair to say.
Yeah, I love animation, and I think it doesn't get the respect that it should, because it's such a kid-friendly. Because that's what it is. It's a kid-friendly medium, right? It's kid-friendly because there's technically no limitation to what you can do in animation, right? So that obviously is a very easy thing to market to children, because you want to fucking push the boundaries for them and shit. But I think there's people working in animation that truly push the medium, like the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie did, and like these shows do. And I cannot fucking wait for Love, Death and Robots season 2 coming out in like
I was
3
so
weeks.
excited. You just sent the link, and there was a trailer, and there was a new season coming out, and I'm like, what? Jeez.
Yeah. I think, honestly, if I had more talent and if I had developed like some sort of drawing skill, I would have gone into animation, and I think animation is probably just that. I think it's deeply
what I love about animation and am very invested in is the way that they're able to manipulate visually, in many cases, how character looks and how you communicate that just by the looks of them. If they're good or evil or good, or you can break the laws of physics, which you can't in live action, and it's a challenge with live action.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I fell in love. I fell in love with Korra. I think she's such an interesting character because she's so
Yes.
completely different to Aang, in her approach to being the Avatar, and all of this stuff. And yeah, I think it's. I also think waterbenders are the coolest. Sorry, so having
Wait. Are you
a
saying you
waterbending
would be a
avatar is really
waterbender?
cool.
Oh,
Fuck yeah, man. I would bend water all the time. Also, mostly because I feel I am. Like, the idea of being able to bloodbend as, like, an extreme resort appeals to me. You know, like, worst case scenario, I need to do something about the situation. I can just bloodbend. Is it shitty and ethically wrong and, violating? For sure. But having that, as a last
you
resort,
see,
I
I'm
think
a
it's really
practical
cool.
dude, and you need water to waterbend, right? You need blood to bloodbend. But with
I
fire
know, that's what
bending, you don't
everyone
need
says
much
when they
more
find
than
out I
just
wouldn't be.
air. You can do whatever you want. I'm a fire bender all the way.
Yeah. It's insane. Also, I think because I binged it, right? I was like, realistically,
Yes.
bending would be one of the coolest
Yes.
things to have real world. Like, a lot of people are like, lightsaber, Harry Potter's wand, the
Bending would
Force.
be cool.
I think bending is not. Yeah, I don't think it's spoken about enough, to be completely honest. When that conversation comes around.
So, from one fictional universe to a very much realistic setting, let's head up in space, shoot for the stars, and we'll have a little scene change here, and we'll get back to you talking about Stowaway. Finally. And just like that, we're back with our semi-normal setup. Mouse Movies disappeared out of thin air, and I'm wearing a sweatshirt. Of course, if you're on the audio version of this, you wouldn't notice shit. So
hopefully y'all won't notice.
Fingers crossed, indeed. Yeah, I'm back home, and let's talk about the movie. Stowaway.
Stowaway is the latest, I think, Netflix release. Maybe not so latest.
I mean,
as we
one
speak.
of them. Don't Netflix release a movie, 2 movies every single day?
I don't even know, man. Netflix honestly has been doing such a good job at acquiring stuff, because of the whole pandemic thing.
I was interested, actually.
Really
do you know if they acquired this, or is it a Netflix property from the start?
I think this was a Netflix property from the start. I think this one specifically. It's getting kind of hard to know because they just, slapped that Netflix original on everything, which I get why, and I understand the hustle, and I respect it, because they need to make a name for themselves, but damn. Anyways, Stowaway is directed by Joe Penna, who's a show favorite, to say the least. We're very much fans of his work, and his career as a YouTuber, and then into feature filmmaking. I believe he's, apart from Bo Burnham, one of the only ones who's properly done the jump, and I think it's really cool. The movie stars Anna Kendrick, Daniel Day Kim, Shamier Anderson, and Toni Collette as 4 people who are in this spacecraft on a journey to Mars. However, there was only supposed to be 3 people in this craft, and that's why it's called Stowaway. So now there's 4 people and only enough resources for 3. So what will they do? Aga. 5-minute spoiler free review. Hit it.
I'm gonna put it like this. Might sound a little bit contradictory, but if you're curious of my movie taste, I love this sort of concept, atmosphere, the sci-fi but realistic, physically accurate. This one takes place when colonies at Mars is more of a reality. I love the Ad Astra's, Interstellar's, 2001 Space Odyssey type of movie. This is very much that. The Martian, almost closer to it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Amazing. Can't get enough of them. Arctic is better, though. If you haven't seen either or, I would recommend Arctic more. Joe Penna's previous feature. Unfortunately, I had too high hopes for this movie. Basically, to summarize it, it's a good watch though, and if you are more into the sci-fi-ness of it all, yeah, it's cool. Give it a watch. It's still a good watch, but I was a little bit let down.
Yeah, for me it's kind of the same. So I enjoy Arctic. I enjoyed it. I think this has really solid performances from them. I wouldn't say it's the best work of none of them. Like we don't really know anything about Shamier Anderson's career as an actor before this, but when it comes to Daniel Day and Toni Collette and Anna Kendrick, I think they have done better work dramatically. However, I still think they're pretty solid. But when it comes to a dramatic thriller, I think Arctic is better in its construction and its resolution. This is a solid watch. I would recommend you watch it in the sense of like it's not Ad Astra where it's like a slow, contemplative, meditative movie, but it's also not like Spaceballs. Like it's a really nice middle ground when it comes to a sci-fi movie. I love astronauts being stuck in their space stations. I think that's one of the coolest premises, and I think this is trying to explore something that we haven't really seen before. Like we've seen it as maybe like as a plot device, but not as the whole plot, and I always think that's an interesting take. So yeah, I would recommend it. If you haven't watched any of Joe's work, I'd say check out Arctic first because Matt Mikkelsen slaps in that movie. So yeah, if you're interested, go check it out. It's on Netflix. There's really no reason why you wouldn't or couldn't, because it's out on Netflix internationally, which is why it makes me think that it was like Netflix from the beginning.
Yeah, Mao will give you his logging if you need it.
Oh yeah, 100%. So basically, in terms of what I did enjoy from the movie, I honestly really liked the visuals of it. I think the visuals are key when you're working on a space movie, and I think Joe Penna and the VFX team and his cinematographer.
I'm not sure if I agree with you 100% there. Okay. I feel like there are key shots that definitely stand out and are stunning. The VFX, I agree with you there completely.
Yes.
But overall, that might be just because I'm simply comparing it to something like Gravity that is above and beyond. Or Ad Astra. But I also guess that they're not as down to earth. Pun intended? Not really. They're not as down to earth as this one.
That's
but there are some
and
very
I also
cool...
feel like when it comes to budget, I feel this probably didn't have the budget as Gravity and Ad Astra, and I feel like with that in mind, the VFX shots, which are mostly everything that's the space station related, I think that's pretty fucking dope. I think the space station that they're traveling on is pretty well developed and like put together. Like it feels like a solid you know, like it doesn't feel like a set. It feels like something that's functioning and working and proper. um, and it's probably because of all the research that Joe Penna did in order to make this more grounded in reality
Hmm.
and how space works.
Yes, it does feel very realistic. I do appreciate the set deck
Yeah,
more myself, but that's a personal preference, I think, when it comes to this
yeah,
type of movie. The cinematographer is Clemens Becker, Clemens with a K.
okay.
He it seems to me like it's his might be his first cinematographer gig, which is nice. He's been doing a lot of camera work outside of that.
Which I will say it kind of shows, and this is one of the first things that kind of make me fall out of love with this movie, is that there I don't feel like there's a distinct voice in the storytelling nor in the visuals, and I think
Yeah,
Arctic had that, and I don't know
Arctic had
why
that.
this doesn't, you know. I feel
Yeah.
like what happens, and I might be wrong, I don't know enough. I really hope, like, I tried finding interviews with Joe about this, but there hasn't even been that much coverage as there was with Arctic.
Probably due to
Yeah,
COVID, unfortunately.
unfortunately. But what I do think is that Arctic was like a long time passion project that he put so much into. And not that he cared less for this movie, but sophomore attempts are always tough. You
Hmm.
know, the
Hmm.
second time that you do something, it's always a little bit harder. It happens with bands, it happens with musicians, it happens with filmmakers. And I think while this movie does some good things, and we will talk about them later, like the atmosphere, I think the atmosphere is really, really well done. Um, it also kind of lacks voice.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. On the camera side or cinematography side, I will give them credit for the way they shot this, because of course you probably were able to detach walls and whatever with the set that was, but the way there's this one shot in the beginning when you follow Anna Kendrick around the entire space station. You call it a space
Mm-hmm.
station, right? It's more of a spacecraft, technically, I guess.
I
Regardless,
guess.
it's a tiny space that these four eventually characters are within, different from Arctic. So it's a different approach, therefore,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a very good job of guiding you through this and mapping it out for you and everything. It's just I would have wanted some extra spice when it comes to probably the scenes, the spacewalks, the solar storms and everything. The effects are great and everything, but I think I personally would have liked something a little bit more less grounded when it comes to visuals and everything.
Yeah.
But also something that's great with the director, our lovely Joe Penna, and something that he does very well, along with, it should be mentioned, his co-writer and producer Ryan Morrison, as well as on
Mm-hmm.
Arctic. He edited Arctic. I don't think he edited this one. Also, but Joe and him, Ryan, are very good with doing these movies, as we've
Oh,
mentioned before multiple times, like stories that take place with, in this case, few characters. In Arctic, practically one character.
practically one. Mm-hmm.
It's really difficult, and it's a good way of doing it. Simply as that, the tension is there. There is higher stakes and everything, and since it is such a cramped space, the filmmaking that goes into it are well performed. Agree?
Yes. And I think, like you said, it is worth mentioning because you and I have spoken about this before. When you have a movie set in one particular space or with such a small cast, it's easy for us to lose focus and attention and
Mm-hmm.
stop caring. So if a filmmaker is able to kind of like hold our hand and take us through this journey, um, with just one character or with 2 or 4 characters. That talks about a certain skill when it comes to editing and writing and, storytelling. I feel that when it comes to space movies, I like more fi in my sci. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I would rather like I understand the appeal of it being realistic or accurate, as was The Martian. But with The Martian specifically, what was accurate was the whole growing stuff, science, and all that side of it.
And I'm
Him
not sure
being
how
on Mars,
accurate that is. Nobody has ever planted potatoes on Mars before, to my knowledge.
Exactly. So for me, it's like when it comes to The Martian, what really helped it was the fact that the scenario was so far out there. As of this time, as of 2021, there has not been anything close to that in reality happening, right? And I feel when it comes to Stowaway, even though obviously this hasn't happened, there have been astronauts in spacecrafts and there have been astronauts in space stations. And I feel that while the spacewalks and all of this stuff happens for real, the way that it works within this movie is just very generic. Like, outside of its premise, which feels new and fresh, everything else comes out of like space movie handbook,
Yeah.
Like the spacewalk has to go wrong, and of course the key to this has to be like acquired through a spacewalk, and this like we've seen all of this stuff before, right? And that would be okay if Joe and his team had done it better. They did it okay.
I think Interstellar has the perfect balance between sci and fi. Even though...
Really?
You don't think so?
I don't know.
Too sci?
Here's the thing.
Because it's very fi with the fourth wall. No, what's it called? Not the fourth wall.
Fourth dimension?
Dimension, yes.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Interstellar. I haven't watched it in a really long time. Mostly because, weirdly enough for you, like I love Nolan's movies once. Like I think the only Nolan movies that I've seen multiple times are Tenet and The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yeah.
That's it. Dark Knight Rises? No, just The Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises is the one with Bane. I'm talking about the Heath Ledger one. Other than that, I'm not that much of a Nolan fanboy, to be completely honest. I think Batman Begins is such a snooze fest. Like, I cannot get through Batman Begins without falling asleep. And so I haven't watched Interstellar in a really long time, but from what I understood, most people thought it was not that accurate.
Interesting. I guess they were breaking boundaries with the entire simulation of a black hole and stuff.
I thought that was really cool.
There's definitely aspects like that fucking Tetris robot walking around. I don't know how that would work in reality. My point is, I think that overall, because I'm a Star Wars fanboy and everything, you know that, and I love my lightsabers and the blasters and everything. But I think, in the broader scheme of things, I'd rather take a sci movie over a fi movie. I hope this is clear enough. 2001 is a good one when they are really where no one has been before. As you said, they have been like this before. There are aspects to this movie, such as the space station or spacecraft, whatever the fuck it is, with the artificial gravity. That is, we've seen it before, yes, but I guess it's not into fruition with today's technology quite yet, even though it's a concept that's very set in stone already.
I will say this. I really enjoy the way that it doesn't waste your time.
Okay.
Like, it's a very tight movie. It goes like, it starts when they're taking off, and you're in there, you're with them, you get to know these characters. It's nice. You can see that they have a banter. But then, like I said, then it's just like space movie 101. The commander, who's like arguably the most, experienced and capable person, has to get fucking injured. Like, she has to be out of the equation, right? So then that's done. And then, you follow kind of like a step-by-step thing of where, like, it's kind of predictable, And I feel like
something is gonna go wrong. Someone is gonna die, basically. Yada yada.
Yeah. And I feel what this movie would have benefited from is exploring the main, question more. Like, if he had explored this moral dilemma of, hey, there's 4 of us and only
Right.
2 or 3 of us can survive, right?
Because I do actually appreciate what the complexity of the characters. You didn't feel like anyone was the villain necessarily. You have Toni Collette, who is more of a to the books. What do you say? On the books, to the books,
By the book
type of a character, even though she's convinced by Anna Kendrick, who's more emotionally driven, and possibly definitely the one that is more caring of a life that would have to be taken because there's not enough oxygen. And then Daniel's, I don't know, arc or something like that, how he's his rationale all the way through with the situation. I guess he's the one that turns out to be the most villainesque out of all of them. Well, but you do feel some compassion to him because there is that rationale.
Yeah, because you most people can think like him, right? Where it's like, if we're being completely honest, this guy kind of like wasn't supposed to be here. We were trained, we were chosen, we have a purpose over there. Like, if one of us dies, then what's the fucking point of this whole thing? And I like that he only chooses to help with the spacewalk because his algae experiment dies.
Yeah.
Because I feel that, like, if it hadn't, he probably wouldn't have.
No.
Like, and I feel that's what I mean, right? Like, those are the interesting parts of these movies. And that's what I hoped it would have been, right? Because I thought, with Arctic in mind, that this would have been more of a character thing. And I feel like there comes a point where this movie becomes more plot driven, that character driven.
Yes.
And I just wish they would have taken the time to develop more into this moral dilemma and into how these characters react to one another, right? Because we're friends and we're co-workers and we're in this space station, but I'm not gonna fucking die for you because I don't know you that well.
It's right? Like, I don't know if we know the characters well enough. Ironically enough, maybe there are too many of them to really get to that point. Of course, Daniel argues that, like, he has his entirety, his past 3 years of research is destroyed if he's gonna use the algae on right now and everything and kill all of his microgreens. Like, I get that, but we don't really sense we see your why you're upset, but we don't really feel it or relate to you to the same part. Same with Anna Kendrick. She's by far the main character and everything, and we should know her the best. I don't really know her drive necessarily. She's a Harvard student, I guess, and she wasn't. There's the entire thing, and it's kind of a nice touch to kind of end the movie on the line of, I never expected to get accepted to this institute and everything. It's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
But as a character, I don't know. It falls kind of flat, unfortunately. Shamier is probably the more flushed out of all of them. The more, which I guess he needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
We need to care about him to.
Yeah, but for me, it's kind of a cheap way out that Anna Kendrick doesn't want to, kill Shamier's character simply because she's a doctor. Like, that's the only real explanation we get, right? She's a doctor. So why, like, and when we hear she's a doctor, we use our background and our context of everything else in media that we know, where it's like, she's a doctor, so that means that she, made an oath not to harm and only to save lives, and all of this stuff that comes with being a doctor, right? So we understand what that means, but I feel like that being her only clear motivation as to why she doesn't want to kill a person, because the argument could be made that there should not be the need for a reason not to kill a person, right? Killing a person should never be your first instinct. But at the same time, if you're going to explore something like this in a movie, I feel like you have to be real with the idea. You have to be real with the idea that humans are selfish by nature.
Yeah.
And I feel that would have been a darker movie for sure, and maybe Joe simply wasn't ready to explore that, and that's completely fair. But I feel like this movie should have been grittier and a little bit darker.
I mean, don't you think that he explored that already in Arctic then, though?
Well, then that's my idea, right? Because there are multiple filmmakers who believe that you're always making the same movie.
Very much so in this case.
And I feel like that's true for a lot of filmmakers. Like, some people won't want to listen to this, but Martin Scorsese has made the same movie multiple times.
Yeah.
And Alfred Hitchcock made the same movie multiple times.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because each of them explore a different side of that same movie, right? But it's because you're like obsessed with this idea. And I feel like in Arctic, he dove into it, and in this one he held back a little bit. He held back, and I feel like, like I said, the VFX are great and the set deck is amazing, and I like the plot idea, but I feel like everything else was just a little bit generic.
I honestly feel like the writing, in the sense, not the dialogue, but the way, I guess, the arcs of the characters are well done. To bring some positive aspects to this, speaking of the point, my favorite scene in this movie is around halfway through, when Daniel has approached Shamier and is like, this is the case, we held it back from you, like, yada yada, here's a sting. and you see this sort of a montage, but very slow, so I guess of him contemplating everything, and eventually Anna comes up to him, and that discussion, like that montage and that discussion there, that kind of collage is really my favorite aspect of it. I think that landed very well.
I honestly really, really like how the movie makes you feel as an audience member. Like, you mentioned the feeling that you get from being on a spacecraft, and it's true. Like, you do feel closed off, and you do feel like it's important that they solve this problem. And I feel like what they managed to do really well is how, at the moment where Daniel's telling Shamier, hey man, I'm sorry, but like, this can be easy. The way it's lit and the way that it's edited and the way that these guys handle the scene really drives the point across, right? And I feel that's the main thing about the movie. Like they all did a good job.
Yeah, there's the humanity is there, the stakes are, um and you know, the main argument why not to kill him is simply because you know, the guilt that comes with it and everything. Unfortunately, that's the only good reason that they bring to the table in this case, practically.
Which again, I love because it's selfish as hell, right?
Mm,
Like the only reason why we don't want to kill him is because it would eventually kill us, right? The guilt would murder our
yeah.
spirit and our will to keep going. And I think that's really interesting. I will also say what I thought it was really interesting just because it adds a, and that's what I mean, right? Like he's such a fresh voice, he's such a fresh filmmaker. I kind of maybe hope too much from him, but I love the idea that we don't hear the communication from ground
Mm,
control. We
yeah,
only
yeah.
hear the astronauts side of it, right? We don't hear the commander being like, "Oh, you're gonna have to do this," or whatever, because it's not important. It's not interesting, right? We know what people on Earth are saying because they're not there, right? The people on Earth are like freaking out, sure, but mostly because the mission has failed, not necessarily because they care about the astronauts. Sorry. Um, so I think,
um,
yeah, I thought that was really cool. I really enjoyed that.
it definitely sets the case that it's them against, yeah, their own lives,
Mm-hmm.
and no one else is really in command in that sense. But you were touching on it before. I feel that my biggest grudge with this comes with all of the what do you call it, plot turns? There's a better word for it. Plot twist, plot.
Twists,
No,
plot twists. That's what they're called.
I guess
Unless,
so.
like, what are you?
It feels cheap that,
Yeah.
like, oh, he accidentally broke this little circuit board and it's beyond repair. Oh,
I
the algae
also,
dies. That's a cool moment though, when the algae dies, and
and he
oh
pushes
no,
the other one, like he pushes the.
it's a cool moment.
I
Yeah,
thought that was cool too. Yeah.
but all of these very important milestones throughout the stories that is supposed to bring more attention to it feel cheap. They're like
Yeah.
plot devices is the word that I'm looking for. There's
Mm-hmm.
like all of a sudden, oh, how convenient. There's a solar storm. Oh no.
And a solar storm, like, and I get it because structurally, technically speaking, the script is well structured, right?
Yeah,
Because we know about solar storms because when she's giving him a tour of the solar station,
there you
it's
go.
like, oh, and this is where we go because there's solar storms are a thing, and I get it. Like, done.
It's
You checked off that box,
mm,
right? But at the
it's
same time,
just it's simply, as you said before, predictable. We are
yeah.
here. We know it's not gonna end too well. It can't go this well. Good for them, and you know, something's gonna happen. Oh, something happened.
And I feel like it would have been interesting to have Shamier be maybe less likable, right? Like all these people are very likable. But I feel like cuz here's the thing. Did you understand why he ended up being stuck in the ship? Cuz I didn't. For me like I think they explain it. I think he explains it, but to me I was like, okay.
Do
I
they?
I think I don't know.
I mean, because correct me if I understand it differently, but the part of the ship that he was stuck in was sent up remotely before they came into dock with the apparatus itself.
No.
Did they send up an entire thing and just go off onto Mars with that ship?
So like supposedly from what I understand, and it sucks that we have to phrase it that way, but from what I understand and the logic that my own brain is using, which can be super wrong, but from what I understand, everything that is like oxygen related and the whole what's it called?
The launch devices.
No, life support. So
Uh-huh.
most of the life support that comes with them comes with them. The life support comes with them in the ship because that's the stuff that needs to be like restocked, and that's
Yeah.
the stuff that had to be calculated and stuff. So I think the life support unit came with them, and I think he was like part of the team that was making sure everything was okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But rockets are vertical, and from what I understand, he was like doing his job and then he fell from wherever he was, and he fell down and passed out from the fall. Which again, it's very thin. It's a very thin plot device. And for me, like, it would have been interesting if he had actively chosen to stow away in the flight, right? Why would you stow away into a flight to Mars? Maybe,
Or or even more of a discussion than just, I don't think he did it intentionally. Well, I don't either. Okay, cool. Like more of a doubt to it, even.
Yeah, I feel like I really enjoyed this movie up until he wakes up.
Oh,
Right?
really?
Because before that, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's interesting. I'm intrigued. Why is this person here? What are they going to do? Now we figure out there's not enough oxygen for all of us. Boom. Good. We're good till there.
I feel like comparing it to, it's only fair to compare it to movies like Gravity, like The Martian, like there's a lot. In Arctic
is a really good one.
There you go. In Arctic, it seems like out of their control, the things that happens. And I guess in this case it is, but it's literally him falling down onto the ground, breaking the device. It's very convenient in that sense. It doesn't seem as much of an accident as much as it feels as convenient for the plot that a solar storm appears. And what if we just get a notion that there might be one in 30 minutes? We gotta rush it. Oh no, we didn't make it in time. I don't know.
I feel like what would have been interesting is like, and to your point, actually, more to your point, it's like the reason why it doesn't feel like that in Arctic, the reason it doesn't feel that way in Arctic, it's because in Arctic it's man versus nature, right?
Oh yeah.
When it comes to space, even though technically speaking it's also nature, there's so many things that happen before the solar storm that we're already like, our preconceived notion is that something has to go wrong, right? So it's not as much as a nature thing as much as a someone wrote this to go wrong, because why not? And here's the thing, right? And it comes down to budget, I guess, and to the idea of writing a script. Because in my head it's like, what if they went on the spacewalk, right? And it turns out that there is enough oxygen, but only for one of them. So now it's 3 again. Now it's only 3 people who can be saved. Now what? Right? Or maybe there was enough for 4, but maybe, Anna Kendrick fucks up, loses one of the tanks. Now what? Like there's so many other ways where this could have gone that would have been interesting to explore.
And more to your point, since it isn't man versus nature, focus on man versus man then.
Exactly.
Humanity, like you were touching on, what if Shamier was less likable? What if Daniel was more of a villain, less likable? What if we as the audience wanted him to be killed off? He deserved to die, in a sense, because it was kind of what do you think about the ending?
I like the idea that it's Anna Kendrick who steps up. I think that's really cool. I think it's awesome in the sense of like her character having agency. I feel like you and I have slightly touched upon female characters and female representation in media. And I feel like it's a really interesting moment where she understands that it's her choice, you know, that they're in this situation because of her choices. And she's like, she steps up to it and she's like, I'm going to do this. And I thought that was a really cool moment. Mostly because I thought Daniel was going to die mid-walk.
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
going to lie. I thought Daniel was going to die in the spacewalk by, you know.
I just didn't really get why. Because when she has decided that I'm going to be the one, Daniel is like, no, I'll do it. And Toni is like, no, I'll do it. And but no, Anna is...
For me, why it's just the obvious reason is Daniel, we saw him struggle, right? So what guarantees that he won't die because he's going super slow?
You need to get,
yeah. And then he would have died for nothing because he wouldn't even been able to bring back the oxygen that they need.
And Toni has her arm, which again is fairly convenient.
Yeah. Again, and that's what I mean, right? Like, why? Like, just because it's convenient. You know, there's no more to it other than that. And I feel like it's sad.
Discarding that, though, all of the plot devices that are, comparing it to Arctic, because I did rewatch it before Stowaway, and the moment when we see Mats there and like hope is on the horizon and he's in true desperation taking off his one layer of warmth, lighting it on fire to get the attention, like I cried, man. That was so like, ooh. I wish I would have felt the same way when Anna Kendrick was there, having a beautiful moment, the stunning visuals, and like just I didn't know what to feel really. It looks pretty.
The thing is, like, what I really think is that
I don't feel like the stakes were high enough, or we didn't feel the urgency. Rather, yeah,
exactly. That's yeah. And it's like, fuck, when it comes to big sacrifices like that, we have to care, right? And we don't care enough about these characters to even remember their names. Oh God. And we saw this movie recently. We didn't see this movie a month and a half ago, right? Nope. And we don't remember their characters' names.
Yeah.
Like, our last episode, we talked about Amores Perros. And it's a really long movie, and it's a really stressful movie. And we looked up a couple of the characters' names. But when we do that, is because we usually remember the character names of the rest of the cast. So then we know. So then we know that we're gonna be using the character names. So then we need to kind of fill in the blanks for the rest of them, right? And that happens with most of the movies that we talk about. But in this instance, we didn't even discuss it before we recorded it or anything. We just went straight for the cast names because I honestly, to God, can't remember their names.
And you know, I don't know if the actor is to blame or if the writing is, but what is that we see Anna Kendrick on screen rather than Zoe. That's her character's name.
Yeah, 100%. I see Anna Kendrick, 100%. And for me, it's like, I love Toni Collette. I love her in Knives Out. I think she's brilliant in Hereditary, and I think it was.
She's in Knives Out. That's her.
And that's what I mean. I feel she's such a difficult actor.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's like, even her accent, even though it's her native accent, threw me off.
Yeah.
It threw me off. And I know that it sounds like we're shitting on this movie, and I'm really trying not to shit on this movie because I feel like it accomplished some really impressive stuff. And it is an actively good watch.
Yes.
Like, it's a good watch. I was in it for however long it lasts. But then it was done, and I felt like it's just done. Like, in terms of the ending, you asked me what my feelings on the ending were. It
Hmm.
it just it just ends. That's
Hmm.
it. I felt nothing. Like, because it doesn't even give you the room to breathe in what happened. It's just like she sacrificed herself, credits.
I didn't even fully understand the stakes going out into the solar eclipse. We don't really get that explained. Because realistically, I don't know if you would be able to survive that far long in a solar eclipse. Realistically,
Yeah, because it was like a 25-minute thing at least.
yeah. Yeah, I'm really struggling to highlight the positive aspects, because there are a lot of golden nuggets here and there. It is a really entertaining is the wrong word to use, because it's kind of depressing, but it's a nice watch and everything, and there are good
Yeah.
things, but unfortunately it is overshadowed by just as many meh things, not bad things, but meh,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's yeah. It's just generic. It's just
there
generic.
there is that really cool moment or visual concept, whatever you want to call it, when they go to the midpoint with where the solar panels are, and the gravity just flips, and how they don't have to use these climbing thingies no more, and they just pull on the strings here, and at one moment she lets go completely. She pulls her way forward, and that's freaky, man.
Yeah.
If I were in space without like practically floating around, I would want to be attached to something.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. And like I said, like it I suppose it does what it set out to do, probably, in those types of scenes, because you feel it, you feel the
Uh,
pressure and the tension, but you don't feel the stakes, and you don't feel the urgency, and I think that's a problem.
and I feel like the plot devices are cheap.
Yeah. Rating, sir. Do you have any idea? I had a pretty good idea what I was gonna give this, but now that we've been talking about it for a while,
Did it get lowered?
yes.
No. That's unusual, actually. When we talk about it, it's usually risen. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
it
gonna try.
usually
I'm
goes
gonna
up.
try and change your mind then. Great things about this movie, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not even gonna bother bring up bad things, because we've been bashing on it way more than I thought we
Me
would. I
too.
really.
I feel that I feel what happened is that we both saw things that were not great, and we had our head in that. But once we saw that we agreed with each other, it was just
Yeah.
like,
and we both had the same points to touch on too, so it became all of that. Then again, it did outweigh it. Positive things about it: the performances, not their best career wise, sure, good performances, man. You can't get
pretty
anything else
solid.
with these people.
Yeah, it was solid.
There are some cool character arcs.
Mm-hmm.
The camera work, how they were able to just have a floating camera for minutes and a long sequential shot with the visual
Mm-hmm.
effects peeking out of the window. The set deck, so rad. It really feels like a cool actual thing. Editing is pretty cool. We haven't spoken about that. Editing is solid.
Mm-hmm.
Solid. There's quite a few montages. Those are not the easiest to pull off, and we do have some sense of compassion for our characters, and the stakes, while they
Mm-hmm.
could be higher, the stakes are there, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
clear, well constructed, at least to the structure of the script.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It has all the points that it needs. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not hitting them completely on the middle of the head,
Yes.
unfortunately. It's a cool sci-fi, man. There's a lot of space and a lot of cool concepts, and science is necessary.
I love that they 3D print her cast.
Hmm.
I thought that was
People,
dope.
yeah. That's just a cast like that is what we do today,
Yeah,
big time. So to have a 3D printer in a space station like that, I don't know.
pretty
They
cool.
probably already have it. It's pretty cool.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I love the fact that they talk about colonizing Mars and how that's very much of a current subject matter or
Would
subject
you
overall.
go?
Hell yeah.
But it's a one-way ticket.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So you 100% will leave Earth to Mars, never
For
coming
humanity,
back.
I think that would be a life-changing experience. Well, yes, it would.
It would.
I don't,
Because
because I don't have. I mean, I have my closest family, but I'm not married and settled down anything. I don't have much
you're
here
not
on Earth.
attached.
Yeah,
I
I
respect
will.
that.
I'm definitely the Anna Kendricks in this equation here, where I would do more for the humanity of
By
it all. I guess
leaving.
that's more Daniel, maybe.
I think it's um like
The greater good.
I think it would be cool to space travel, but as of now, I feel space travel is more like camping than nice tourist attraction. So I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Because honestly, it's like I'm just starting to warm up to camping. And I have to say, I think it's because you treated me really nicely and we ate
Mm-hmm.
pretty nicely while camping. But I
Yeah.
feel like good food goes out the window the moment that you say, hey, we're going to travel across space.
Yeah. Eating out of an aluminium bag is not your cup of tea.
No, it looks disgusting because it's probably just mush, right? Like it's not like food. It's probably just like baby food.
I was actually surprised when I realized that this movie was gonna use gravity. I thought they were gonna be floating around, and that would be super cool to see, but budget, I guess. Um,
I kind of like the idea that they have artificial gravity.
I guess. I guess.
It just goes with the tone of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When it comes to rating, though, rating it as, you know, the sensation that it left me with, or the journey that was, I really appreciated it. And when the credits rolled up, as I said before, the few last lines was actually hitting quite nicely, even though the death of her as a character could care more, or like it wasn't the most satisfying naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I sat through the credits, and it was kind of a feeling of existentialistic or something like that, as you would expect from this sort of a movie. And I couldn't have asked more purely emotionally, filmmaking wise. On few technical aspects and such, I have complaints, but I think I'm gonna give it a fairly generous score of 3.5 out of 5. Like very close 4.
Mm. No. Giving it a 3.5 would be too nice for me. And I was going to give it a 3.
Okay.
And I think I'm still okay giving it a 3.
Nah,
Because it's
go
a solid
for it.
movie.
It's
But I think
solid,
realistically, because we've spoken about how a 3-star movie is like solid, right? But I feel like there's aspects of this, key aspects of this, that aren't necessarily solid, but more, and I'm so sorry, mediocre. So I'm going to give
And
it a 2.5.
Okay.
2.5 stars.
Yeah. No, definitely. There's multiple things that sure are land flat, are mediocre, that they're not They don't ruin it all at all, but they definitely lower it completely.
Yes.
To my book, 2.5 is a good average.
Yeah, I think it's exactly where it is. You know, like it's not a
I don't
waste of
disagree.
your time, but it's also not life changing. You know, it's a solid watch.
Yeah.
Like you're with your partner or with your parents or on your own, and you just want something that is more engaging than a stupid movie, but it's not as engaging as like not engaging, but it doesn't require as much of your attention as something heavier.
Yeah. You go in with the intention of watching the movie, but you're open to some Netflix and chill. If yeah. Lovely. And after this sip, my cup of coffee is over. I hope your cup of whatever agua is completed also.
It is.
And so is this episode of Stowaway.
Always nice, Algat. Always nice to sit down and chat with you.
Lovely.
If you made it this far into the episode, thank you so much for joining us on this week's journey into a Netflix original, which I know hurts Agat a little bit every time that we try and talk about a Netflix movie. However, thank you for joining us. If you didn't know about it, we have a video version of this podcast. It's available on YouTube under the same name, Films and Fika. We put work into it. It's a really nice little production thing that we have going on. And if not, we are available wherever you listen to podcasts. Clearly, you're listening to it right now, so that's pretty much all you need to know. If you're in iTunes, give us a 5-star review. That's always nice. And if you're not, then just share the episode. Share the love. Share your love for movies with other people. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, more movies and more coffee coming to your local theater.